team plays. What hair I do have left is more gray than it has to be at this juncture in my life. But here we are. Again, another week full of stress, but at the end of it, I say the biggest takeaway from all of it is Notre Dame's 3-0. Notre Dame's 3-0. Now, hell's still coming to breakfast. I still believe hell's coming to breakfast because there is no answer to the biggest problem on this team. And that is going to be an ongoing frustration all year that I think we're all just going to have to deal with at this point. Because it's not going to get better. The offensive line thing, it's just not. It isn't going to get better. And it drives me crazy. And it's going to hold back some really exciting things we have going on. But that is our current reality. But for now, we are 3-0. There's only, 30-something teams that are undefeated now, I think. Low 30s. 26 home games in a row. Listen, I love all that. I love the way we're finding ways to win these games and not lose them. But it's hard on my hairline, hard on my cardiologist, too. Hell's coming to breakfast at some point. I feel like we're just walking around with a grenade in our pocket, and at any time it's going to go off. We are living on the edge the way we're getting through these games. We are living on the edge. We are on the borderline. So that's got to make you feel good and bad. Good that we got through this stretch 3-0. Bad because the next 5 games are real. Notre Dame has almost no margin for error in these next 5 games to mess around, be inefficient, take a half to figure things out. No, that's over. That's what these first 3 weeks were for. That time's over. Things are about to get real. They're about to get real. But you got to love the way we fought through it. 1, kept the streak alive at home. Still undefeated. All of our goals in front of us. All of that stuff is true. I said it before. The win isn't all that matters, but it is the most important thing that matters. But that easy part of the schedule is over. You guys got to realize what we've been through and what we have coming. Out of our first 3 games and those opponents, only one of them has a win over a Power 5 team yet this year. And it's Purdue or over Oregon State, if you even count Oregon State as Power 5 at this point. Okay? And it's been a stressful struggle. Even though this game we won by a bigger margin than the first couple, it didn't feel like it all day. Tell that to my blood pressure reading. Stressful. Okay? And that was against these 3 teams that are not good, haven't beaten anybody good. That's concerning. That's objectively concerning. Life's about to get real. Gonna have to play 5 full games. Okay? Full games. So, for now, Notre Dame hold serve. The world isn't coming to an end. Won the game. So what do we make of what we saw in the Drumgate game? So what do we make of this Purdue game? There was a lot to like. There was a lot to not like. And there was the same stuff that I hate, that I'm going to continue to hate, that I have to come to the realization isn't going to get any better this year. And that's just going to eat at me every single waking moment this entire year. But we did see improvement, I felt like, in many areas. Odd things in others, like 7 drops from the wide receivers you can't afford to have. Loving this team. They make it so hard. Nothing can ever just be easy or relaxing. But here's the first thing I liked about this game. We avoided the Drumgate pushback. When you go at it as hard as I did and then we lose, there would have been all this blowback and all that. You win, the story goes away. NBC tried to make poke at it a little bit, whatever. You win the game, the story goes away. Purdue can't say anything. They didn't win, whatever. Keep it moving. So that's number one thing I liked, is I didn't have to deal with any of the Drumgate pushback. Final opinion on it. Is it petty what Notre Dame did? Yes. But do I like that? Yes. Period. End of story. Simple as that. I give Jack credit for sticking to his guns on this one. Let's move on to the next thing that stuck out to me that I really liked from this ball game. The defense. I feel like Marcus Freeman and I were working through our differences, going through some counseling. You know, we just might be able to make this thing work after all. So I kid a little bit just because of my built-in affinity that you all know I have for Marcus Freeman. I really am starting to feel like this defensive identity is starting to come together and form a little bit. I feel like some of the uncertainty we saw the first few weeks is starting to go away. And it looks to me like guys are starting to feel more comfortable flying around, making plays freely, which is the key feature of the Marcus Freeman defense. So I like a lot of what I saw this week in that regard, in that facet. Now, my goal going into the year, I know it's lofty. I wanted to be giving up an average of around 17 points a game. That was my goal for Notre Dame entering the year. So we gave up 13 in this ball game. Now, yes, it looked rough at times. There's some things that I still don't understand about this defense and how they scheme it at times. I'm not saying it was perfect. This, like everything else on this team, is a work in progress. But 13 is 13, and it's great to see. It is great to see. 13 is 13 no matter what it looked like, and only giving up 3 the first half is amazing. So my anxiety on the defensive end, I still have some about certain things. But overall, much better effort this week. And here's the thing, guys. With our offense and the issues we have that are going to be issues all year, we need a great defense. Like, we just do. They can't both struggle or this has no chance. So I'm glad to see the defense take a step forward because they need to pick it up for the offense that's going to have struggles all year. I've just decided that. There's no way they're not. This offense is going to struggle all year, and we're going to get into some of that, some ways I would navigate some of our specific issues later on. But with that offense, this defense has to be great to keep us competitive, and it did a good job. No monster gash plays or bombs over the top this week. It's exactly what I asked for. They didn't let Bell beat them exactly like I asked for. Their long run was 31. Long pass was 32. Way better than 60, 80, 90 and a touchdown. So I felt like we saw some real strides forward on the defensive side. They just look a little more comfortable and free out there. And I think that's the way Freeman wants this to feel and look. I felt it. 13 is 13. Good job. Okay, we needed that. Now, 2 interceptions. Great job. Hamilton, player of the week again. Player of the week. And his interception wasn't even the best play. His best play was not even, I was going to say, stuffing the 4th down run. He didn't even stuff it. He sniffed it out from around the side, caught the guy. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Hamilton is tied for first in the country, averaging 1 interception a game. That's absolutely fantastic. The best thing about Kyle Hamilton is his instincts. And I love that because physical traits are physical traits. You know, certain guys are more gifted than others just by their bodies, what they could do. Having the football instincts this guy does. You can't teach it. You can't learn it. You can't go to school for it. It can't be coached. He has that gift, and it's absolutely beautiful, and I love everything about it. His football instincts are it just warms my soul seeing somebody that has a feel for the game that much playing for Notre Dame. Love it. Cherish every play that he's out there, okay? Purdue rushed for 57 yards total. That's winning defensive football. They passed for 291, only a 5.5-yard average, 1 touchdown. I can live with that as being winning football as well. 3 sacks, 5 tackles for a loss, more than a half dozen quarterback pressures. J.D. Bertrand, 2 good weeks in a row, 12 tackles this week. Believe he had 11 last week. Hamilton, 10. And again, those instincts are the best feature that this guy has. And I love seeing it because it's a true gift, a God-given gift to have those instincts for the ball. Beautiful to see. It's like poetry in motion every time I see that guy out there. So, 13 is great. No matter how it looks, that end result you're judged by is points you give up. 13 is a good start and something this team can lean on moving forward into the meat of this schedule that's about to get real. It's about to get real. Margin for error for Notre Dame, almost 0. Next 5 games. Gotta play good, complimentary, full games of football, or these shows are going to turn into something real dark, real fast. And I'm not here for that 12 years into this operation. I'm not. Couple notes about the defense. I would still like to see some crisper tackling, but overall I do think that is improving week to week. But it's something I still want to see get sharper as we move on. Also, I just think we need to scrap this three-man front garbage. They come out of the half, go into the 3-man front, let Purdue go right down the field. Scrap it. It's not working. We never play good when we're in that 3-man front look. Scrap it. Right when they went to it, that Purdue goes right down the field out of the half. I hate it. I hate it. Adjust. Tune that up. Do something else. This has not worked every single time we've done it. Every single time. Back to the good end, like I said, they didn't let Bell beat them. 64 yards, no touchdowns. I could live with that all day from the other team's most explosive receiver. Overall, good job on that. MTA, great day. Nana, good day. Foskey, good day. Making plays. This defense seems to be coming to life a little bit, gaining a little confidence. I see that and I feel that, and we're going to need it moving forward. That defense has to do everything it can. Everything. But overall, giving up 13 points is the main point here on defense. It's a big step forward and a big victory for Marcus Freeman, who desperately needed a very high-quality showing, and he got it out of his group. Good job to everybody involved. So now that we covered some of the bright spots, getting to 3-0, the improvements and the steps forward that I feel the defense made overall, and I'm happy for Marcus Freeman to get a little of that heat off him, and they still got to tighten up, but that was 13 is 13, and I'll take it, okay? I'll take it. Now we need to explore some areas of question and ongoing concern. Number 1, 8 penalties, too many. 8 penalties, too many at home, especially the ones at home by the offensive line, whether it's false start, illegal motion, whatever you want to call it, anything by the offensive line. You're already bad. You can't put yourself behind the sticks with penalties. Figure it out. You're not good enough to be able to overcome them, so you can't commit them. That's number one. Here's number two. And this is a big theme to me. This is something I'm always looking to make a note for. These starting sequences to begin games and to begin second halves. I don't understand. It's like I don't understand. It's like, oh, John, why is your blood pressure in the stroke level? Why are you almost locked in a straitjacket in your studio all the time? You want to know why? Because I sit around all week waiting for the Notre Dame game to start, all excited. Wait all morning. Then the game starts. Play one, it's a sack. Play two, it's a false start. That's what I waited for all day with bated breath. Get real. You can't have that be the start to your game and tell me you're ready to play. A sack and a false start is how you start the game at home. Give me a break. It's not okay. It's not acceptable. You just can't. That can't be it. But it's like people want to know, oh, John, why are you so worked up all the time with your blood pressure? Look at how the game started. 5 seconds into the game, my blood pressure shot through the roof. Sack, false start at home. That's your start of the game. I can't handle it. I can't. I physically can't handle it. Then you come out of the half. And then what do we do to come out of the half? Magically switch into the 3-man front, let them go all the way down the field, get points. We get the ball back, and we have to call a timeout before we even run a play coming out of the half. Like, this is unacceptable to me in year 12 of a coaching operation, that these are your splits, starting games and starting halves. I just can't have it. I have no patience for that stuff a dozen years in. And I know, oh, John, but the players all haven't been there a dozen years. But when you're the head coach for a dozen years, you got to have these starts to halves ironed out. It can't be this. It cannot be that. Starting halves in ball games. I don't have the patience for it. How is it even possible that that's how you start the game? A sack and a false start. Seriously? And you're still telling me, O-line you, some of you are still sticking to that, huh? You're still sticking to that. Okay, you're about to find out, O-line you, the next 5 weeks. You're about to find out real quick. So I have no patience for that kind of inefficiency to start games and start halves. It's brutal, and I can't have it, and I'm not here for it. I'm not. I'm just not here for it. It's bad football. It's bad football, okay? The drops. We only had 2 total from 2 weeks entering this game. We had 7 in this game. Lindsey 3, Austin 2, Kyron 1, Wilkins 1. The Lindsey one hurts. That hurts me personally. I've been waiting for Braden Lindsey to break out in a big way for all of last year and then this year. He gets wide open. It bounces right off his face mask. I don't know what else to tell you. It's brutal. It's brutal. And when you have the offensive line struggles we have, where finding time for a quarterback to make any pass is risky, and he might get decapitated at any time, to have 7 drops, it's a miracle we won this game, thanks to the defense again. But 7 drops for an offense that's already struggling, you just can't have it. You can't have that. It's atypical of these guys, and it's got to be cleaned up. You make those mistakes against Wisconsin, you don't have a chance of winning that ball game. They are too fundamentally solid for you to have 7 chances for completion to drop the ball. So get real. This offense cannot afford that kind of thing. Get serious. Get some stickum. Do something. But you knew we had to get here. The biggest concern of the entire program, the number one thing that is going to hold the whole team back from reaching its goals, the offensive line remains brutal. 4 sacks given up, 7 tackles for loss. Cone pressured on 42% of dropbacks. That's unbelievable. Madden, Baker, Lugg, Pro Football Focus all had them rated as lower than replacement level linemen. Okay? Bad. Bad, bad, bad. It's just tough. It's just tough, and there is no easy solution. I just think this is what it's going to be, and I'm appalled. I'm appalled. Answer this question, somebody. Answer this question. After a dozen years of a coaching regime, and the number one thing you're known for most of recent vintage is offensive line, how can you be this bad? How? How are you this bad? Is it recruiting? Is it development? Is it both? Some of you are going to say it's offensive line. They need time, experience together, and then it'll get better. I get it. I get it. Listen, I don't expect it to be perfect with all the new faces and young guys. I am not unreasonable. I do not expect perfect, but it can't be this bad either. Give me something in the middle to work with. How is that not fair? I catch this all the time. John, offensive line, they need to gel. We got these new guys. They are young. There's injuries, all this. You're expecting too much. They don't have to be perfect. It just can't be this. Be average even in this offense could be exciting. They can't even sniff being average. They can't even sniff being average. And that offends me for offensive line What you are known for as a program in a good light, for that this year to be the worst part of your program, something's wrong. Something is wrong when your biggest program strength is weighing down the entire team. Something is wrong. Again, I know it takes time to gel and everything else. They don't have to be perfect, but they can't be this. Now, you're going to play Wisconsin with the number 1 rush defense in the entire country. How do you think that's going to go? We are 115th out of 130 in rushing the ball. We are 125th out of 130 in allowing sacks. Things are bad. Things are bad. Okay? I'm never going to let this point go. When you brag about this position group, it cannot the next year be the worst part of your entire program. Figure something out. Who wants to hit somebody in the face? You get to play. We're at that point. I have no patience for your strength to weigh down the entire program this year. I am not listening to your O-line stuff anymore. Save it. Save it. Now, I will give them credit on this. They didn't let Karlaftis beat him. He had 2 tackles, 1.5 for a loss. I will give them credit on that. That's the one guy I said couldn't beat us. They didn't let him do it. I'll credit them that. But the rest of this offensive line operation, it is nowhere near even average. It is nowhere near even average. And I'm not going to be able to handle that all year. I'm not. Moving directly into the offense specifically, I don't know whether this is good news or bad news. Notre Dame could have scored in the 40s yesterday. So that's good and bad. It's bad because we didn't, because we have no offensive line and we have no offensive line, had 7 drops, gave up a handful of sacks, a bunch of tackles for loss. Okay? So I don't know whether it's good or bad that there was 40-something points out there for us to catch and we didn't. But that was the case. Quarterbacks, Cohn, 15 for 30, 223, 2 touchdowns. A robust 47.3 rating. Not good, but here's the tough part, you guys. Like, it is really hard for me to gauge Cohn week to week because of this offensive line. Like, he had 7 drops, no protection, getting sacked and pressured left and right. Like, yes, I need Cohn to be more accurate, but it's hard for me to just blame him when he's getting killed every other play or has no time and is rushing every play. So it's just a mess. It's just an unacceptable mess. So some of these incompletions, it seemed like Cohn needed to have better touch or be more accurate. But it is hard for me to lay that all on the quarterback with all these other protection issues. So the 7 drops you just can't have. I need more touch out of Cohn, but at the same time, he's a statue running from an onslaught back there. What do you expect him to do? What do you expect him to do running for his life? Or even if he has a little pocket, it's got to be in the back of his head that it's only going to be there for 1 second and then he's getting beheaded. So I have a hard time giving you a clean, pristine gauge of where Jack Cohn is because the offensive line doesn't even give me an even slate with which to judge him. It's slanted towards running for your life and almost dying so much that it's hard for me to judge the guy. Now, from Buckner, he provides that spark in the running game. Then he got hurt. Apparently, he got out there, opened things up with his legs, gave that stiff arm. Love to see it. Then we didn't see Buckner anymore at all. Hamstring. So now where exactly does that leave us in that quarterback situation? This is actually quite a tricky philosophical question to navigate, given where Notre Dame's at now, undefeated, a bunch of tough games coming up, offensive line issues. There's no doubt Buckner opens things up because of his legs. There's no doubt about that. And Notre Dame needs all the running room they could get from anybody, however they could get it, because the offensive line is bad at playing football. They're not good at football. So there's no doubt Buckner opens things up. And then I ask, before the injury, why can't Buckner get a couple series to let him get comfortable, get in a rhythm, instead of just coming in for a couple plays and then he's out? And I ask for more of that. Also, in this dynamic is in my mind that Buckner's the future. So any play you get out of Buckner helps you in 2 or 3 more years, not just this year. So this is all an ongoing formula with the inputs changing. And I got to tell you, I hope it never happens. But once there starts being numbers or a number in the loss column, my opinion on this quarterback room is going to change. That's going to change depending on that loss column number. As long as it's 0, do what you want to do. Things start going downhill in that loss column development mode. At that point, it's development. So we'll get there when we get there. I don't want to have to get there. Okay, I don't want to have to get there. But when I say to Notre Dame people, by Notre Dame people, I mean people that know, people that are at practice, people that see practice, that kind of stuff. I don't know what to make of it, because when I bring up getting Buckner more time, more series in a row, letting him throw more, I got some people telling me, yeah, I don't understand why they don't do it. The kid could be really good. I have other people who say, John, you're not at practice. He's super inconsistent, and they don't trust him to make throws. So, depending on who you ask or who you talk to, that opinion seems to change. But I have some people say you're not seeing him throw because he can't throw consistently in practice. So they're not going to put him out there and let him do it. Other people think he'd be fine. So I don't know. But with this offensive line, it's nice to have a quarterback that can make a play out of nothing, because you're playing in nothing most of the time with this group up front. Cone could be awesome in a Notre Dame offense with a very good offensive line. And he could just sit back there, make his progressions and reads, take his time, make good throws. Cone would be great. That ain't what we're dealing with, though. That's not the reality. We're expecting Cone to operate with the offensive line dynamic that is the worst for somebody like Cone to operate in. So it's just a bad mismatch, because I don't think this guy thought he was coming into Notre Dame as a super senior to be a Mazda test dummy. He's a crash test dummy back there. He's going to lose his head soon. So I don't know what you're going to do, but you're going to have to adjust this offense for these next 5 games and work around what you cannot do and try and maximize what you can do. Because I've given up hope that this offensive line is going to even be decent. I have seen no evidence of that. No evidence of that. So we're going to have to adjust. And this quarterback dynamic, I said it last week, if this run game stuff continues, you might need Buckner whether you want to do it or not, just to be able to get some sort of running game. 120 yards on the ground this week. 51 of them came from Kyron, and a lot of that was just him doing what he does in space. So you could look at 120 as improvement. You could look at it as, hey, you got 51 from your best dude making most of those moves on his own. You take that out or half of that out, you're in a bad spot with the numbers on the rush game. Okay? So it's just tricky, you guys. There's no easy solution to a struggling offensive line. No easy answers. Michael Mayer only had 1 catch, and that is not nearly enough. Now, I don't know, maybe he was in blocking Karlaftis half the game or what. 1 catch for him is not nearly enough. I need way more targets, way more catches all the time for him. Okay? But, and just these backs, like Williams, Kyron and Chris Tyree are capable of so much exciting stuff, but they're just being held back. Every single foot we gain on offense seems like a scratch and claw. It's just every yard feels so hard to gain right now for Notre Dame. It's hard to watch, and it grinds on you as you're watching it unfold. Every foot has to be fought for. There's just no blocking. No blocking. And it's just, I can't accept it and process it. It can't be this way in year 12. If it is, you have problems. Something has gone wrong. Something has gone very wrong. Okay? So, we saw some good plays from the receivers. We saw a bunch of drops. Avery Davis continues to gain my respect for all he's done for this program. His willingness to change roles impresses me. That is a captain. That is the definition of a captain. And listen, I'm not saying there were no good plays made and Cone's no good. No, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying for this team to be where they want, it's not possible with this offensive line. All these exciting weapons, speed, talent, athleticism, without a good, decent, I'm not even going to say good, without a decent O-line, there is a cap on how good all of this can be. There just is. And I can't process that in a way that's acceptable to me this far into the program after a dozen years. We're celebrating Kelly for tying New Rockney in overall wins, and I'm sitting here in year 12 with the worst offensive line in America. It makes no sense. I refuse to accept it. I refuse to accept this information, okay? It appalls me that much. I just can't. So, the offense is always going to be a work in progress. I felt like there was a little more room this week. But going into Wisconsin, the offensive line is my number one concern, and there is not even a close number two. That is my number one concern by far. I am not encouraged that it's going to look any better either. That's the worst part. Okay? But here is a philosophical question for you guys, the viewers. And I'm going to ask you this, and I want you to think of your answer. And then in a couple days, when I do the Wisconsin pregame show, I'm going to go over my thoughts. But here is my philosophical offensive question for all of you. What is the number one role of the offensive coaching staff? That is my question I want you to think about, and we will revisit this for the official Wisconsin pregame show. And I will go over why I'm asking this, my answer to it, and how I want to see that play out in Soldier Field this next Saturday. So think of your answer. What is the number one role of the offensive coaching staff? Little homework for you guys, okay? Now, special teams. We actually tried to return a couple punts. Kyron had one for 23 yards that he returned. Then he had one even better than that of course got called back for a penalty. Okay? But I love beggars can't be choosers. I'm just glad they're doing this at all. Tried to return some punts in any fashion. Bramblett, punting. He had a couple that were bombs that were great, downed in good spots, and a couple others that were borderline shanks, or at least one that I didn't like at all, that didn't flip field position. We gained like 20-something yards off the punt. Get more consistent there, please. Dorr, telling you, man. That one field goal, the one he missed, the pulled one where he missed it by like 40 yards, I'm going to tell you what that kick looked like. That kick looked like me on a 7 a.m. tea time on a Sunday morning after staying out on a Saturday night too long, and I'm hungover, and I lean into my tee shot and snap hook one 800 yards left off the tee. That's what that looked like. I don't know what happened, if there was a timing thing or whatever, but bad. Don't do it again, please. Got away with it this week, but the way I am with special teams, I can't handle it. A bad punt, flag on a good return, shank pulled field goal. No wonder I have no hair. Add that stuff to the special team. Add that stuff to the offensive line stuff. I should just go with the straight razor now. Save myself the grain. Good Lord. Help me. So, where does this all leave us? It leaves us at 3-0 with a big prime time, big attention game this next week. Listen, there are ways we could beat Wisconsin, but you got to play good football. And I'm actually very excited for the Wisconsin pregame show. I like talking about Wisconsin because I actually respect Wisconsin. So we will get into this. There's a path for Notre Dame to win this game. I'm not saying it's impossible. No way. Notre Dame has overall way more talent than Wisconsin. They do. Talent, raw talent, is not overall raw talent will not be the reason Notre Dame loses to Wisconsin. It won't be overall talent. It will be us being bad in the areas they're good. Not overall talent, but us being bad where they're good. And that's very, very frustrating. So, these next 5 games are the real deal. Notre Dame's going to have to play good in all 5 of them. Better than we played in any of these games, that's for sure. So, what are the odds that happens? I don't know. But here's what you can't let happen. You can't lose one of these games and let that snowball downhill on you and keep building into losses. That would probably mean you lose to Wisconsin, then you come home, and then you lose the home winning streak to Cincinnati. No. I'm not here for that. I'm not here for that. So you better figure some things out and tighten it up. Tighten it up. Okay? But for now, we are 3-0. That's as good as you could be. We've seen some improvement in a lot of areas, and I hope we continue to see it. But life's about to get real, and hell is coming to breakfast the next 5 games if we don't tighten up some areas where we are currently deficient. But for now, we are 3-0. Drink your whiskey. Get ready for whiskey. Eat your Tums. Drink your Pepto. And we will reconnect for the Wisconsin pregame show in a few days. 3-0. It's not all that matters, but it's what matters most. Good night.